What up, Massive? It's been a while. Energy Fables, Beats and Rhymes podcast. My name is Earl the Dat. And, we're just generally just trying to update the format. Get with the times, like, you know what I mean? And it's been a while, from 2019, let me see. I think that was my last upload. Till now. And this will be a bit different in terms of trying to promote some of the music now. So that'll be playing in the background. Plus I'll be talking about certain songs and remixes. And, as usual, there's a script. So, stick to the script and roll with it. I'm having signal problems at the moment. I don't know. Things are going left and right and left. I don't know if it's me or the headphones. A little bit of crackling here and there. But let's proceed. As we proceed. Alright. Yeah. Diddly that. Industry Fables of Beats and Rhymes podcast. Coming at you live. Right, it's just about where we start now. And we start always at the beginning. Where else? Of course, now we're beyond the stage of pen and paper, you know what I mean? So, now we can type things out. So. Tying up loose ends from stuff I've done before, you know what I mean? In terms of Industry Fables podcast, I've done a few, I've done a shitload with H.O.K because I thought the H.O.K were investigating and going knees deep with the Afrika Bambaaata slander scandal thing, you know what I mean? But we'll get to that, you know what I mean? Sliding on, I'm just preliminarizing. What's my take on that? And, since then we've had COVID, so things have changed. The world's changed since 2020, so, and I kind of did warn, you know what I mean, on Facebook that's going to happen, you know what I mean, on a live, and I started getting crazy. I was on medication, I ain't long come out of hospital, you know what I mean? And that was medication for a kidney problem, not anything, spanner loose in my head or anything like that. My take on the current state of hip-hop. Since and the current generational shifts in regards to entire history or entire the legacy of the music genre culture. So we're comparing old new heads. You know what I'm saying? Let me just get the YouTube notifications out of the way. So the old stuff, it's getting old by the minute, you know what I mean? So where we're gonna go, you know what I mean? Mumble rap's old, that's been and gone, you know what I mean? Drill rap is still up and cooking, dude, you know what I mean? People are still talking about smoking on their ops, so that's going. There's a guy named Trapmore Ross, he does a lot of that research, you know what I'm saying? And he's covered the Dave Hid trial and a few others. Out there in the States, you know what I'm saying? Murad, that's another one, English based, up there, with his knee deep in his journalism fingers in the affairs of what's going on in the States. Like, you know what I mean? You got a Diddy trial and bang, you know what I mean? Well, it's all going off, dude, you know what I mean? People don't realize that there's a link to actually tweaking laws and regulations and shit like that behind everything that's going on in hip-hop. Look with YSL and Young Thug and the rest of it, you know what I mean? If you don't think that set a precedent and change the precedent in terms of how legal wranglings get settled, then I don't know, we're in a different world then, you know what I'm saying? Look at the state of Georgia right now. We just had the FIFA World Cup event, you know what I mean? That was the basic landmark for the event, and then it scattered around the Americas and different places. as well as North America. Um, Old heads. I mean, I wanted to get on a bit there later. The death of Afrika Bambaaata and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, you know what I mean? Of course, since returning from Germany, where I was based for 10 years, and this is where I did a lot of my material in terms of, regardless of what was going on behind the scandal that came out in 2015 around Afrika Bambaaata. Ronald Savage and who the person that was generally known as Puppy at the time, who's now just using his birth certificate name, I think. I don't know. Hassan Campbell. And it's all gone a bit weird. You know what I mean? It's weird. Dude, it's giving weird energy. There's been lots of shifts and that, you know what I mean? You've seen it already, you know what I mean? When I posted my, I think it was the Later Wills Trapped in a Culture video. And to stipulate that a lot of us were in on it, you know what I mean? Like, feet on the ground trying to figure out what the fuck was going on here, what's going on behind all this shit, behind hip hop and what's been going on. So when Hassan came out, Conscious CCTV network come out and help mop up and do a lot of investigating as well. I mean, big up to Tasha Pope. She went in on Polite. He's now banged up. And Hassan seems to have swanned off and gone his own way. He's got YouTube plaques on his wall and shit like that. And he ain't looking back. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So many more content creators. From people connected to the hip-hop scene, even from being artists, from back in the day, like producers and rappers. And, I got back here and discovered Wildin' Out. You know what I'm saying? Didn't actually discover that while I was in Germany, you know what I mean? But, why'd that have to end? Why was that just a bunch of series and they reran a bunch of shorts and that ended? That's finished now. But, you're putting rap with comedy now and performance and, you know what I mean? Making it look a lot different, you know what I mean? That's gully as fuck, but, you know what I mean? We take this culture to another level. That's what I'm saying. It's not just, down on the street corner rap and flapping your gums and throwing a hat on the floor. And spinning on it, you know what I'm saying, with your head. Certainly ain't that anymore, you know what I mean? Jay-Z's come out recently and said, well, battling and break culture is not really part of hip-hop. I'm like, what? Is this nigga tripping or what? You know what I'm saying? I'm not familiar with the 106 and Park and Loving Hip-Hop. I don't know why I didn't get it in Germany, but I was linked up over there. I don't know. I was just, I was just knee deep. I was virtually on the corner 125th in Harlem with these niggas trying to fucking get to the bottom of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Behind Bambaaata and the whole Zulu Nation and everything else. And we'll get to more of that as well. You know what I mean? And it's good. Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian. I started following him from when I was based in Germany. You know what I mean? I always wondered he could do a better intro beat than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, man. You know what I mean? Like, change that beat up, dude. Every show, like, you know what I mean? Get another one up. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? Yeah, but big up Lord Jamar, and then he started that whole thing with Godfrey, and then Dig was up in that piece for a little while as well. You know what I'm saying? That's all changed. Now it's just Lord Jamar on his own. I don't know if it was because of his political affiliations with Donald Trump. But yeah, it could well be the case. So. Beats and rhymes, I said beats and rhymes. That's nice actually hearing your beats as you're fucking talking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the old boom bap you're hearing, man. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, it's nice to see Lord Jamar up with Sadat X and Grand Poobah. You know what I mean? You know, a couple of nights ago, I was watching YouTube, and there they were, and that they'd done that 3 years ago. But I think that's pre-voting for Trump again era, which a lot of people have got fucking in the neck for. You know what I mean? You know, Nicki Minaj has done a total 180 and is now siding with the Trump cartel. You know what I'm saying? And Snoop got it in the neck for attending the Crip ball. He says, "I'm a Crip, so why shouldn't I be there?" But this is after when Trump won, and that was his gig. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, of course, Snoop's done the Olympics, isn't it? And you know, introduced the next one for LA when the next one comes around. So, you know, there's been bunches of fires since then in California, and it's just pretty much off the chain around the world. You know what I mean? And it's by design. Unfortunately, is that our opinion? And you know, it goes on like that. You know, when you're looking at YouTube as far as content is concerned, you know what I mean, especially around hip hop, it's like a Blueface and Christian Rock, isn't it? I'm like, man, you know, give me a break, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, I've taken a break. I've said, look, fuck, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, when Roddy Doe died, you know what I mean? Of course, it's going to get everybody's attention. You know what I mean? And then everybody's going to be pointing fingers at Christian Rock. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, there is an agenda behind all this. And then Zeus Network, everything that comes through Zeus Network is dripping with a bunch of satanic fucking otherworldly shit, man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you're down with that fucking cartel, you're down, dude. You know what I mean? But, you know, see it for what it is and park it up, dude. I've parked that up, you know what I mean? Stuff coming out of Zeus Network with AB and Dean. It is looking funny, but it's looking like a reality Big Brother type looking joint, which, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know, as intriguing as it seems, I'm quite prepared to slide out of in a minute. Someone's got something better to do, you know what I'm saying? Because Blueface looks like a nigga ain't got nothing fucking better to do. Sit around on couches with his phone. Yeah, you know. That's something else I covered as well, you know what I'm saying? Whilst I was in Germany, you know, it's the fact that Michael Wayne TV, there's not many people really heard it about Michael Wayne TV. You know, going around the Bronx with cameras and pointing out precincts where the black spades occupied. You know, who was a baby spade, who was a, you know what I mean? You know, a senior spade or what, you know what I'm saying? But the guy doing the filming and the questioning, he was going around with his camera, and he had DJ Faze and a few other people, and Stan, Green-Eyed Stan, and a few other people, and Blackjack, you know, Bronx regulars that were down with the culture long before Cool Herc turned up with anything, you know what I mean? And Bambaatta, and then we were attending DJ Mario's sets and learning from everything that they were doing. So it's the narrative that has to be addressed, isn't it? You know what I mean? KRS-One's going around to these colleges and universities and spreading a total different narrative, which is all lies. You know, and now we know what KRS stands with a lot of things. You know what I mean? And stuff that I've already addressed in the videos. So, you know, I don't want to be raking all that up again. Look where we are now after Bambaatta's death. You know what I mean? It's like you can hear crickets. So with Michael Wayne TV, you know, so I can remember there was a gripe from his daughter saying, well, you can't use his name anymore. You know, I don't care about this, that, everything else. I'm just doing. Oh, you can't use his name anymore, so you have to change the name, and it's now the culture or something or other. Forgive me for not having my research now. This is just a little video podcast pre-upload to get me back into the swing of doing regular videos, industry fable type videos. Plus, doing it in this format, like I said, I can promote the beats as well and the new songs that come with it. You know what I mean? And the old songs, you know, and remixes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It don't stop here. As grey as this grill is, it will never stop so long as I'm creating and, you know, doing what I do. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much where we are now. You know what I mean? You know, I never actually stopped. Took a break. I left another country, came back to my original country. So, and that took a lot. Big headache during COVID. It took me 24 hours to get from Germany back to here. Spent half the day in Cali in France. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, another 5 hours at Dover when I got back. So, you know, it's been a bunch of stress. You know what I mean? I've had a couple of jobs since, and you know, now I'm doing content now. You know what I'm saying? Employed to do content. Yeah, so that led to a name change. But you know what I'm saying? It's good to see DJ Phase up there, you know, throwing his 2 cents in, saying, look, he wasn't there. 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 It's good to see DJ Phase up there. Talking about who was there and who weren't. You know what I mean? And let's get our facts straight. I mean, KRS-One was not there. So him doing these colours lectures and shit, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but I've already done enough research to say, well, that's going in a particular direction that serves a particular narrative. Don't forget, in 2001, was it? Yeah, 2001, him, Bambaaata, and 300 delegates took hip-hop to UNESCO and had a meeting with Kofi Annan, had a big party, and now it's legislated under a UN clause to do with culture. And if you go on their site, you know what I mean? It's like a bunch of shit, like, you know what I mean? You're like, hip hop? Like, where we going, man? There's a bunch of colors and, like, I mean, almost rainbow, dude. I'm like, what? That's what you done with that. Anyway, so anyway, since then, you know, Bambaata's up and out. And, you know, it's crickets, dude. You know what I mean? Later Wills had a conference outside New York City Town Hall. About 10 people turned up. You know what I mean? She said, well, look, Poppy, you know, you'd have to be there. Poppy was Hassan Campbell. And she actually stipulated that he didn't have to be there. Well, why not? He's the one barking. He's done the most barking about Bambaaata, and he didn't have to be outside the town hall. And that took place on the 27th of March, is it 2022 or 23, something like that. And I was posting banners around for Layla off her Facebook page, and yeah, you know what I mean? And then the reels from the video she put up, and one of them got 4K. But nothing since. But since then, he's popped his clock. So Bambaata's a lot of other things has happened since then as well. And that segues me to his publishing deal and Sony ATV. I'm kind of jumping around here. So yeah, with KRS-One and the rest of y'all, I mean, you know, crickets, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, not forget about the museum, dude. You know, I've seen KRS put up content recently, dude. You haven't addressed any of these issues, Bambaaata or the Hip Hop Museum. And it's crickets about the whole New York's city complex around the Universal, which now they've dropped the Universal name Museum. I think I have to update myself. Be aware that I'm not updated. You know, I'm basically just reconnecting where I was with my last content when I was uploading videos. You know, and that pretty much would have been my last video. You know, the Trap to the Culture one, I think. don't know if there's a couple following that, but yeah, things started getting harder. COVID set in, and then I gave it a rest. You know what I'm saying? Interest as well, you know what I mean? Jay-Z and Nas battling over casinos and stuff like that. This is where we are now. You know what I mean? So we're not just rapping anymore, we're doing some real business, you know what I'm saying? We're putting royalty checks into finance and investment and stuff like that, and infrastructure. And, you know, Kanye could be said to be doing the same thing, but, you know what I mean? They've all got their corporate backers and sponsors and stuff, and they don't want to upset. You know, around P. Diddy, it could be he upsetting the people around the owners of H.O.K, you know what I mean, which are based in London. Blackwater, or I don't know, you know what I mean? But you know, he's rattling fucking tin cans in a cell right now. You know what I mean? Diddy trolling, 50's trolling him like nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? Has a new Netflix documentary coming out. I didn't see the first one, but here comes the second one, and there's going to be one on Jay-Z as well. It's all coming out of the woodwork. They've apparently moved and got property in England. So I don't know. It's all it's pretty much off the chain as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? How that fits into world politics? Well, amazingly it does. And then, you know, I'll have to go to people like Zachary K. Hubbard, and there's other people now. Rambo, Decoding with Cody, AJ with Ball Don't Lie, and all these decode with the numbers, Gematria. They're not all necessarily unified, because Zach has a few of them for copying his work. But, you know, and, you know, like I said, I kept making that distinction in the other videos that it's not serving any purpose. But in the long run, it's not helping anybody because there's no solutions. You know, something can count numbers and put synchronicities to things all day. Where does it put us? One thing is being aware, but then question is where did we go? Alright? I don't know if you can hear these beats like you know, I get a lot of influence from Pete Rock and Premo, so you might be hearing that signature a little bit in these beats. Yeah, and you know, I did say, you know, I mean, you know, when Star put out the idea that the Zulu Nation had no finance or no accounting, and then Afrika Bambaaata securing that Sony ATV deal back in 2015, you know, Star, you know, nigger pennies, you know. That's an exclusive deal, dude. You know what I mean? The advance alone is going to be ridiculous. I'm sure you could buy a whole street in a neighborhood with that advance. But so that times in kind of like not Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson owed a good percentage, if not half, of Sony ATV. So, you know, now Bambaata's departed. What happens to the shares that or the royalties and the merchandise, you know, profits go after Bambaata's death? I still haven't discovered that, and I'll be doing some research on that and updating everybody on that. You know what I mean? You know, what's the idea? You know what I mean? And then since then, earlier this year, a family has come out against Michael Jackson, namely the Cascios, for more child abuse, and that come out and coincided with the movie. Big up Roxanne, because she's covering all that, and looking at the fraud behind Michael Jackson, and the fact that he did mingle and mess around with little boys, hence pedophile. So yeah, that's another one. You know what I'm saying? But just making that link, you know, Sony ATV, okay. You know, if we look up Sony ATV's publishing lists in terms of clientele, and see if Bambaata's on there with Michael Jackson, I don't know. You know, I mean, there's probably ways of researching and finding that out. You know, if it's made worth my while, I will be sort of monetizing these videos and attempting to do live ones. You know, so I'm just getting back into the kick of things. There's also my other projects around, you know, what you hear now is hip-hop, boom bap beats. There's also, you know what I mean, my roots reggae dub projects, which need speaking on, which probably need a new channel. I think I've decided because, you know, I'm throwing a lot of controversy along with the hip-hop subjects and stuff like that. And, you know, I just want the music itself to speak for itself and keep it separate. So I'll have to, for Luxman Productions, I'll have to do another channel, a completely other channel. Or go on BitChute or some other channel, I don't know, you know what I mean? You know. And for that reason, I remained unmonetized and didn't bother using AdSense or anything like that because I wanted to be free to whack on and throw kicks and slide at any motherfucker I wanted to, you know what I'm saying? With monetization, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You know, you get nipped in the bud. Also, you can't even talk anymore. Like certain words you just can't say anymore. So it's crazy. Yeah. One tone city. One tone city. One tone city, many niggas get ready. The only two-tone ism, and that's a Belmarsh prison, no place for residence. This is one of my remixes for One Tone City. You'll be hearing the song soon. Been about half an hour so far, so you know I'll be editing this as well. So yeah, a new channel for the roots reggae dub stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to mix up the two, mix up apples with pears. You know, with industry fables, it's done what it's done. It's doing what it's doing. You know, it's poking holes at the fabric of the whole shit. It's keeping it together. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of debauchery and sadistic stuff and you know, low-level satanic crap. You know what I'm saying? You know, oaths, rituals, you know what I'm saying? Spells, hazings, initiations, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, why a nigga stay broke? That's why, because he ain't trying to do none of that shit. Yeah. One Tone City. Yeah. One Tone City where many niggas get ready. The only two-tone ism, and that's the Belmont prison. No place for residence or appeals to residence locked with a key. You set your black eyes free. Yeah, like that. Diddly that. Yeah, you know, sorry, I'm gonna kick out over the old them beats, you know what I'm saying? Off the chain. You know, so I'm gonna round this episode up like it's just a chart, it's just a start. It's just to wheel my way back into the whole podcasting circuit. And do a bit more intense research and put up money collection apps and stuff like that. So you know, I've swept through a brief list of what I've discussed, and things are pretty much looking the way they're looking. You know, it is what it is. what we do with it is another thing, you know what I mean? Now, people of my generation ain't doing nothing. We're just saying, well, look at that, look at this, look at that. I'm not trying to change anything or regulate nothing. We just got to slide on, let the next generation do what they're doing. But, it's worth observing and criticizing and making an analysis of things. So, from an entertainment perspective, like I said, you know what I mean? There's always a price to pay, whether you're paying for a ticket or a piece of fan merchandise or whatever. There's going to be a price to pay. There'll be a price to pay having the most debaucherous and sadistic motherfuckers trying to entertain you. You know what I mean? Of course, there's a price to pay for that. And it's all energy exchange. So I want to exchange and attract good energy. So I choose to go back in time, do 90s boom bap beats and traditional reggae beats that had a real thing. When you're composing all that, you're not copying and pasting and cutting, and you're using real instruments and real musicians. You know what I'm saying? So let's pick up the Luxman Band. Next time we'll be more prepared and you'd have a more rounded show. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully he can expand this network. I've got a neighbour who's got some ideas about podcasting and setting up stuff like a Drink Champs type channel. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about it, but it's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So for now, unless there's anything else. You know what I mean? As we go, as I settle back in, which I'm still settling back in after leaving another country. I shouldn't be, you know what I mean? It's been nigh on 5 years now. The blogging, we're going to get back into it and, things are going to be more concise and more research and receipts and pictures and illustrations and stuff like that. So look out for that. And this is the Beats and Rhymes Indie Fables podcast, and my name is Earl the Dat. And I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you very much.